we should have, if this wasn't a pandemic and, I wasn't in charge of the budget, we would have sent you down to Houston to essentially be there. Hey, Cal McNair.
To the press conference?
Rich Eisen Show, Chris Brockman, Rich Eisen Show. My question is for you on Jack Easterby. What is it with this guy? Or, Jack, I've got a question for you, Rich Eisen Show, from Chris Brockman, from Rich Eisen Show. What's the matter with you? What is it with you?
What do you have on these people?
Who are you?
Yeah, what is
How
your
did
deal?
you get here? Why do you have so much influence? How have you survived all of this? How did you?
Valid questions.
Nick Casario, Chris Brockman, Rich Eisen Show right here. How did you get hired? You were not even on the list of guys that Cal McNair. That's a question as well. Was Nick on your list from the headhunting firm that? My gosh.
How much did you pay the hunting firm to then hire a guy they did not recommend?
Did you give Deshaun Watson an assurance that he would be counseled before you hired Nick, who's sitting right next to you?
Yeah. Exactly.
Did you do that? Why did you? Did you ask him who he wanted as the next head coach? Did you give him that? Why is he so upset with you, do you think? Is there any way that this can be reconciled? Is he your quarterback? Are you planning on having him there? What if they come up there and say he's our starting quarterback here in 2021, and we'll see him here? If he's not here when he's not supposed to be, we will take under advisement all that we are allowed to have. And they collect the bargain agreement of the NFL.
If they say that, we will be monitoring Deshaun's social media.
Honestly, and David Culley, what's your relationship with A.J. McCarron? Because that's the guy that's apparently going to be your starter. Unless you trade Deshaun. Nick, have you gotten any phone calls on Deshaun? Nick, how many are you taking calls on Deshaun Watson?
Have you had to hire an assistant?
Nick, have you called Deshaun Watson? Have you spoken with Deshaun? When was the last time you spoke with? Oh, and by the way, none of these questions that we have just come up with that are all valid questions. I don't know if some of them are going to be posed in the way of what's the matter with you, Jack?
John McClane would probably do it.
You literally just turned into David Byrne and made that whole thing a Talking Head song. This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. How did I get here? All these questions.
With the exception is that my clothes are not ill-fitting. For me, the crazy thing about all these questions that I just said, none of them have to do with David Culley's coaching acumen or plan or anything. None of them have to do with why David Culley was hired.
Right.
None of them have to do. And
what's your scheme, coach?
One can only imagine. We all have, egos. We all have egos. One can only imagine that. You think that when you're unveiled as the new head coach of a team, it's about, what your philosophy is and why you were the choice of the team. And by the way, that's the way the press conference will begin. With, I'm assuming, the owner and general manager and Culley out there, and it will be all about David. When we first met David, he was X, Y, and Z, and we were immediately impressed. And even though we then gave a million other interviews to other people like Josh McCown. That's another question. Why did you give Josh McCown an interview? Did you really consider him? At any rate, so on and so forth, we felt like he was a perfect fit for us and all of that. They can go that, and then Nick might say something, general manager, and then Culley says something, and then time for questions. And then everything that they've just said will be thoroughly ignored by the rest of the media. And then here we go. Mm-hmm. And by the way, apparently, did you see who he's going to hire as his defensive coordinator? Lovey.
Oh, really?
Lovey Smith is going to be the defensive coordinator. And any Bears fan will tell you, yeah. And any Rams fan will tell you, too. Marshall always spoke very highly of Lovey Smith.
That might get J.J. Watt to stay.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
No, I'm not. Yeah.
No chance?
No, I don't. Like I said yesterday, J.J. Watt has every reason to sit there and say, what about me?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And every reason to sit there and say, you know, I put my heart and soul in here too. And if you're starting from scratch, you look at me, man. I finally played some seasons where I haven't gotten hurt catastrophically, by the way. Like the guy never just has, you know,
sprained ankle.
Right. He's the guy who's basically always fighting back and always putting it out on the line, blood, sweat, and tears. And if this guy has 2-3 years left, obviously this isn't the spot to try and win a Super Bowl over the next 2-3 years. This window is about maybe year 4 of the David Culley era with a new quarterback, because this Humpty Dumpty's not going back together. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.